Well, today the House voted to strip Marjorie Taylor Green of her committee assignments. There were 11 Democrats who joined, 11 Republicans who joined all the Democrats in a move to expel the Georgia Congresswoman from her various different committee positions. So here is the story here. This is from Roll Call, I believe, is who did this story. I'd like to give them some credit here. Says the House voted 230 to 199 on Thursday to remove Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Green from her committee assignments. It says no Democrat voted against the resolution to expel Green from House committees, which is going to bite them in the ass when they're no longer the majority. We're going to get into that. But 11 Republicans broke ranks to support the measure's adoption. You got Young Kim of California, Mario Diaz-Balart, Carlos, I'm just going to slaughter all these names. I'm sorry, guys. Carlos Jimenez, Maria Elvira Salazar of Florida, Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, Fred Upton of Michigan, Christopher H. Smith of New Jersey, Chris Jacobs, John Katko, and Nicole Maliotakis of New York, and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. Those are the Republicans, just in case you're a Republican and you follow those and you want to know. They're the ones who voted to expel Marjorie Taylor Green from her committees. Now, I definitely don't blame those 11 Republicans for voting to do that. I think you can do that to your own. And I think it's really totally and completely fair for Republicans to censure or expel someone in their own party from committees. If the Republicans all got together and said, we don't think you should be in these committees, I think that is a perfectly fine move. So I think with these 11 Republicans who voted also to expel her, they're in this case, they're able to just follow their own conscience on that one, I believe. Now, with the adoption, it says here that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the one who proposed this resolution or this measure for this woman to be expelled. It said that she's been expelled from, I think her committees that she was taken from is Budget and Education and Labor. So Budget, Education, and Labor committees. But she will still be able to vote and give speeches on the House floor, they said. So she's not totally silenced, but she is expelled from the committees. Now, apparently, what did Marjorie Taylor Green do? I hadn't really been following this story. I know that in the news, they'd kind of turned her into the new Trump. They didn't have anybody to go after. Donald Trump is gone. We don't even know where he is. I don't know where he is. But Marjorie Taylor Green took on the mantle of being the new Donald Trump for the media to attempt to eviscerate. And they went after and found, from what I understand, she had liked some tweets on Twitter. I mean, it's bad enough, right? They were going after, it was bad enough when they would go after and dig up your old tweets from 10 years ago and say, look at what you said 10 years ago when you were 15. How dare you, right? But it's another thing for them to go through and scrutinize which tweets you've liked and say, well, she liked this tweet, so therefore she agrees with it. And she, I like tweets sometimes out of sarcasm. I almost like a tweet. I mean, look, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but these things are kind of silly because you read something and you might only like one part of it, but you like it, or maybe it's from somebody and so you like it in order to be nice, or whatever. But anyway, they went through and they found some things that she had liked, and they call that expressing support. It says here, prior to her election to Congress last year, Green expressed support on social media for the assassination of Speaker Nancy Pelosi, agreed with those who said the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida in 2018 was a false flag operation, questioned whether a plane hit the Pentagon on 9/11, said Barack Obama was a Muslim, posted a photo of herself on Facebook holding a gun to images of Democratic reps, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib, mused that a space laser aligned with Jewish financial interests caused devastating wildfires in California, and aligned herself with QAnon and baseless belief about an anti-Trump deep state that engages in child sex trafficking and Satanism. Now, listen, liking tweets is one thing, and going around and doing all that is one thing. It's another thing, if she did pose, again, I haven't really looked into, I wasn't following this that much because the hysteria from the liberal media is just, it's exhausting and nauseating. But look, if she did post photos of her holding guns to these reps, that is highly problematic, right? I mean, if it was illegal, then something needed to be done about that. I guess if it wasn't illegal, then it is what it is. All of these things, however, happened prior to her being elected. So my guess is her constituents knew these things when they voted for her. And if they didn't know these things when they voted for her, then they are the ones who should recall her. They're the ones who should punish her or demand some censure. They're the ones who need to be calling for some sort of punishment on her. They are the ones represented by her. And in a democracy, it would be those people who she works for who'd be the ones that actually dish out the punishment. Not other people who don't work for her or she doesn't work for them. You know, she doesn't work for Nancy Pelosi. She doesn't work for even Kevin McCarthy. She doesn't work for any of these people. She works for her constituents. And if they voted her in, you know, look, she's not somebody I would have voted for, but people apparently did. And, you know, who am I to say that I know better than them? Says Green on Thursday said that the school shootings are absolutely real and that 9/11 absolutely happened, which did not contradict her conspiracy theories about the shooting at Marjorie Stoneham Douglas High School or questioning whether a plane hit the Pentagon on 9/11. Saying she was present at it as a student when a fellow student took her school hostage. She said, I know the fear that David Hogg had that day. So she said she was a student and a fellow student was taken hostage back when she was a student. So it says amongst the controversial actions cited by Democrats was video footage of her confronting David Hogg, a survivor of the Parkland shooting, and calling him a coward. Again, she's not somebody I would have voted for. But I think all of this stuff, if they knew about this when they voted for her, you know, what do we do? I mean, we can't sit here and say, well, you voted wrong. You knew these things and you just did. I mean, they've tried that for 4 years with Donald Trump. They're, oh, you voted wrong. We knew everything that there was to know about him. And people still voted for him. And then other people said, well, now you got wrong choice. We need to cancel that. That's just not the way a democracy works. So now it goes on here to say House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy decried Thursday's move by Democratic majority as an unprecedented power grab and argued that because Green's comments were made before she was a member, the House should not address it. I agree. If her constituents knew about this, then it is not up to these other people from other districts who she does not work for to go after her. It's up to her constituents. And if they already knew about it, then they knew about it. What are we supposed to do about that? I'm sorry. Some people just, you know, they make decisions and you're not going to agree with them. Says McCarthy said Democrats would regret their decision to strip Green of her committee seats. McCarthy mispronounced QAnon, which, by the way, if he mispronounced QAnon, I like how they're pointing that out. If you mispronounce it, it means he's definitely not a part of it, right? So McCarthy mispronounced QAnon and then proceeded to cast aspersion on the behavior of several Democrats. Quote, if the majority party gets to decide who sits on what other committees, I hope you keep that standard because we have a long list you can work with in your own, the California Republican said. So this is where this is going to come back to bite them in the ass. Democrats always change the rules. When they have a little bit of power, they change the rules, and then later on, when Republicans get power, they use those changed rules on Democrats 10 times harder. And then the Democrats act shocked and appalled that this happened to them. Goes on to say, in 2019, when Iowa Rep. Steve King made comments sympathetic to white supremacy, McCarthy swiftly ensured he was removed from his committees. He has deviated from that approach regarding Green. But to be clear, King, who lost his bid for renomination from his Iowa district last year, made his comment as a sitting member of Congress. So Kevin McCarthy punished Steve King when he made those comments while he was in Congress. But with Green, he's saying, she made these comments. Her constituents knew about it. So, it is what it is. Says Pelosi told reporters before the vote that she was not concerned about the precedent Democrats were setting by removing a member of the minority party from committees. Of course, she's not concerned about what this is going to do. She says, if any of our members threaten the safety of other members, we'd be the first ones to take them off of a committee, the California Democrat said. Except she didn't make these comments while she was a sitting member of Congress, unlike Steve King. She did not do that. And so Nancy Pelosi sitting there saying, well, and also, we've got Democrats doing crap that are putting the American people potentially at risk, like sleeping with spies, and then they're not removed from committees. There is a big double standard going on here. But fine, I expect them all to be partisan and have double standards. But the issue here is that when Democrats decide to change the rules, it always comes back to bite them in the ass. And so Pelosi's sitting there saying that she's not concerned about the precedent that Democrats were setting. Well, one, because she's going to be long gone by the time Republicans get back in power. She's not going to be sticking around. She's going to be out of there. She's going to resign, or she's not going to run again. And it's not going to be her problem. But the thing is, when you go back to the 1970s, that is when government shutdowns began. Government shutdowns didn't exist for 200 years during our country's existence. They only started in the late 90s. And it was because Democrats couldn't agree with one another. And so they shut down the government year after year after year, because they couldn't agree with each other. And Democrats were responsible for the first 7 or 8 government shutdowns before Republicans finally got in on the game. And when Republicans did, they did it hard. They did it during the Bill Clinton years. It was Newt Gingrich, and they went after it worse than any Democrat could ever imagine a government shutdown being. So Republicans finally saw what was going on. They said, well, as soon as we get some power, we're going for it. And when they did, it took them a long time to get power. Democrats had control for a very long time. But when those Republicans got it, guess what they did? They said, yeah, 2 could play this game, except we're not going to go after ourselves like you guys were doing. We're going to go after you. Because Democrats changed the rules. They changed the rules on Nixon, and so they allowed themselves to control the budget in a way that was previously the president had more control. They didn't like the Republican president, so the Democrats changed the rules, and then they used those rules over and over to shut down the government. And then what happened was Republicans finally got power and used it to a level that was never seen before. Fast forward a few years. Go to the filibuster. What happened? Democrats were complaining under Obama that they couldn't get any judges nominated. They couldn't get any judges through. The judges that were nominated, they couldn't get through. So they said, well, we're going to go nuclear. We're going to get rid of the filibuster for judges. And Republicans said, you will regret this. You will not like this outcome, because when we get power, we will do it to you, and you're not going to like it when it happens. And sure enough, fast forward just a few short years, what happened? Donald Trump got to appoint 3 sitting Supreme Court justices, and none of them were really looked at as moderate. Previously, Supreme Court judges were moderate because you had to get 60 senators to agree. But with only a 50 majority, a simple majority, 51, then they don't have to be so moderate after all. You could get more extremists in there. And so, fast forward again. And now what we've got during the Trump era, and now even it's extending into the Biden era, is a series of mistakes that will come back to haunt the Democratic Party. When they went after Donald Trump, 2 impeachments of Donald Trump, believe me, when Republicans get a big majority, they are going to go and impeach, because Kamala Harris is going to be the next president of the United States, if she can help it, if the Democrats have their way. And believe me, she will be impeached. They will find something to get her for, and they will impeach her when they get a chance. And that is the new normal for all of us. When they talk about, impeachments, these are unprecedented. These are, and they all dress up in their fancy garb and get special pens that we all have to pay a boatload of money for. And they all act like this is some unprecedented historic event. Bullshit. It's not going to be historic. It's not going to be historic because they're going to do it all the time now. It's the new precedent. It's the new normal. And now when the majority could get into power and they could start stripping the minority party of committee positions because they've got the power, believe me, this will be the new normal. So when Pelosi sits there and says that she's not concerned about the precedent that Democrats were setting by changing the rules once again, you and I should be very concerned, because this just means Congress remains a circus. It's an absolute circus. And it will remain a circus. And they're making sure of that. And they've done this every single time. And it is just absolutely, Congress is, why do we even have them? They don't even do anything. I don't even know what their purpose is. So she will live to regret it. We will all live to regret this.